So hello and welcome to this episode of Trident Talks. I'm Rosie, a senior consultant over at Trident, and I'm delighted to be joined by Eric, who is one of the founders and the CEO of Albarius. Now, before I ramble on, because I can definitely do that, I'm sure the listeners would much prefer to hear from yourself, just a little bit about kind of your background and what really got you to where you are today.
Hi, great. Great to be here. Thank you for having me. My name is Eric Mishayev. Like you said, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Albarius. I have around 20 years of experience in the cybersecurity sphere. I started in the Unit 8200. I bet a lot of people know about that unit. It's a lot of other startup founders started their journey there. And I also have a CISSP, so I'm pretty versed in the cybersecurity sphere around the technical part and also risk assessment and other areas.
Awesome. As I say, I think a lot of founders I speak to come from Unit 8200. It's like almost like a birthplace for these amazing startups. So awesome. Thank you for that. Now, I'd love just to unpack a little bit about kind of Albarius specifically. And every great startup, I feel like, comes with like a moment or a specific problem that you're trying to solve. What was the inspiration behind kind of creating this organization?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I always wanted to to start a startup company. I always thought about ideas. And it's kind of maybe surprising because a lot of startups start from thinking about the idea and then starting developing. But I've actually encountered a customer that I worked with, and they basically kind of gave me the idea when they presented their issues, their own problems that they had. How would they manage like complex systems? How would they remediate issues and configurations they had, specifically in the network security sphere? And then, right then and there, when I had that meeting with the customer, I kind of figured, maybe I can build something with that could solve their issues.
Awesome. That's like a first-hand kind of use case then. It's not like you're seeing a gap in the market, because I always feel, or speaking to a couple other founders, they see like a gap in the market, but maybe so does a couple other founders as well. And it's almost like a race to who can get to the finish line faster. You obviously spoke to a customer, realized what maybe the issues they're seeing are, and you were able to build like a organization off the back of that. Haven't heard many, or haven't spoken to any founders with a similar story there. Now, obviously, product's really, really important. Of course, you can't have a platform, a company without it. But obviously, the founding team is also just as important. Obviously, the people. How did you guys kind of all come together?
Yeah, you're right. The founding team, the people, and the connection between the people is also very crucial. And we've known by the time we started this company, we already known each other and worked with each other for around 8 years. And that means that we already got enough experience and understanding on how to work properly with each other and what type of issues we might encounter in the future. Because as you know, a lot of companies or startups fall because their founders do not get along with each other, especially when they encounter different like complexities or difficulties in management of the company. And when we came into that, we already knew how to do that together. So that already helped us. And because all of us are basically with technical experience, all of us are really really understood the problems and the issues that we were trying to solve. And that also helped us a lot. People talk a lot about the founder market fit. And that is something that I also think is very important, because the founders need to understand their market, and they need to understand how to solve it. They need to understand how to communicate with their customers. And we kind of had all of that together because, like I said, we already worked by the time a lot of years.
That's awesome, because you get to know kind of how each other work as well, and how you guess you kind of fit in with each other. And it's right, like the product obviously has been successful, and I'm sure we'll get into kind of how it works and everything like that. But knowing that you guys can work with each other, you've been successful in the past, you can carry that on to kind of what you're doing at the moment. I think you're right. That's where we see organizations be more successful and also have that longevity as well. So it's interesting to kind of see, I guess, how that dynamic came together. Getting into the weeds then a little bit more about kind of Albarius and what you guys actually do kind of product and platform wise. Now, feel free to get as technical as you want. I'm sure our listeners are like obviously the CISOs and customers will love to hear a little bit about kind of what you guys do specifically.
Yeah. So we've built a platform that basically does automated remediation in the, let's say, configuration management. That means that our product integrates with an existing security solutions. And specifically now, when at the beginning, we focused a lot on network security products. So we integrated with companies and products, platforms like Palo Alto's, Checkpoint, Fortinet's, and Broadcom, VMware. And what our product does afterwards, after of course integrated with those products, it gathers all of the information that they have, like their configuration state, and the policies that they have, and when we brought our own intelligence and an AI that we build, AI modules that we build as part of the platform, we were able to basically take everything that happens in the organization on one side, the existing configuration state on the other, and build the recommendation work plan that the users could activate or enable through the platform in order to fix those issues that we found. So, for example, if you have an access that is open from somebody, I don't know, from a remote site to one of your most sensitive servers in the organization, then we would be able to recommend on closing that access. And with a single click of a button through the platform itself, we would actually able also to automatically remediate that issue. So it's a, let's say, semi-autonomous platform to remediate the configuration issues. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. As I say, saving, I guess, time as well and probably money in the long run.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah.
Fantastic. And I appreciate you probably won't, I'm not expecting you to kind of name customers or conversations you're having. Of course, that's fine. But I guess thinking about that first conversation that you had where you realized this might be an issue that it kind of needs to be solved, and then moving forward to create that ideal kind of like ICP, that customer that you're looking at, what kind of industry or like size of customer would this work for? Because it feels like maybe a bit more like larger organizations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. The ideal customer profile would be like ideally an enterprise company. And we found that there's like several specific sectors that would usually require something like that more. Financial, for example, whether it's insurance, banking, exactly. Those kind of, while on the other side, medical. It's also something because they're getting targeted a lot because their security is usually known to be lesser than, for example, financial institutions, because banks protect themselves. They have enough money, they have enough resources, so they make sure that they have enough security system to protect themselves. But the medical sphere, like hospitals or clinics or other such places, usually do not have enough platform or personnel to manage all of that. So a lot of times hackers target them. And that's why we also identified that we can work and help and assist them in a pretty big way, because our platform can basically close up gaps that can also save them personnel. Because instead of trying to hire and maybe not even being able to technical people, they can use an automated platform that can do that work for them.
And like I said a second ago, it's kind of saving that time and money. So for like the medical field, like hospitals who maybe don't get as much funding, instead of hiring kind of X number of people, I don't even know how many people it would take, and kind of thinking about like all those salaries and I guess training and everything like that, you can implement this platform and it almost happens, I guess, kind of like in that immediate time as well. I guess then thinking more about then the customer journey that you guys can offer, is there something that you could almost like walk us through, like a use case? Again, you don't need to kind of name customer, but almost like this bank, and then kind of show what happened or what the result was because of it.
Yeah. So a lot of times, but especially banks and those kind of organizations, spend or waste, depends how you treat it, a lot of time on working with their end users. It might be the DevOps teams, it might be developers, it might be even I don't know, financial people, and they require access, let's say, to new things all the time. They onboard new applications, new systems all the time. There's a lot of changes in those kind of organizations. So they do spend a lot of time on working all those changes, making configuration changes, setting up new networks, for example, to allow those new applications and so on. So one of the many use cases that we serve is how to like hasten and make those kind of transitions and those kind of changes in a better and easier way. Like, for example, using a workflow on top of our platform that can onboard new applications in a much faster way. So it can save the team, the security team, a lot of time. They don't have to be in direct contact with the end users. They can request the request from our portal, and then they only have to basically approve it to onboard the new changes.
I was gonna say, and how are kind of, I guess, like developers and engineers almost reacting to this platform? Because obviously, when you introduce new products and new platforms, I think it's normally developers that are the first to kind of go, whoa, what's this? What's their kind of feedback that you're getting?
Usually people are, of course, accustomed to the way that they used to work beforehand.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time they used to just come up to the security people and telling them, hey, can you do that for me? Or can you do this for me? And when you change things and suddenly you just give them a form on the website that they have to input their request instead of talking to somebody, they usually do not like this change in the beginning.
People
but
don't
I
like
think in
change.
the end, people don't like changes. But in the end, I think it makes everyone's lives better because the response times becomes much faster.
Yeah.
The SLA becomes better because they don't have to wait a few weeks, 2 to 3 weeks before their request being implemented, which is something that used to happen a lot before automation.
And I'd say, I guess they can actually do kind of their job as well instead of waiting those kind of weeks for that to come back. So in the long run, they're probably, and I guess over the next few months as your kind of company grows as well, we'll see the feedback becoming a lot more stronger as well. I guess on the flip side, obviously, I've not heard of many organizations kind of doing what you guys are. How do you differ from kind of like other platforms? Is it the AI kind of engine? Is it the ML? Is there anything else that differs?
We understood that we don't want to just be, let's say, a mechanical platform that just does A to B to C, and it's always the same. Doesn't matter which customer, which environment do you install the platform in. And we understood that every customer is different, that they have different needs, different platforms and applications that they're using, different people that use those platforms in different manners. So we wanted to build several AI models based, a lot of them based on machine learning, that can learn the necessities, the patterns, and how those specific companies work, and then adjust the recommendations and the automated remediations that we do based on those information, based on this information that we've gathered from the customer. And since all of that is happening in the platform itself, and it's not something that we need to manually process. So it also happens fast.
Awesome. Okay, so it almost ends up acting somewhat like a teammate as well.
Exactly.
It plugs into your system. Yeah. I think that's a big thing with any AI product, though, isn't it? It can't almost overpower what's already been there, but acting as like a teammate and adding to kind of your security system or to what a developer's role is, which seems like this is doing.
Yeah, which is why we all a lot of times say the platform is not supposed to, let's say, replace existing people, but it's supposed to help them focus on the more important things. There's a lot of, specifically in the security sphere, of course, also, there's a lot of things to do. There's always new platforms that they want to implement, maybe reinforce some other area. And we want them to be able to focus on that and not just on day-to-day operations that they usually do today. So we want to let the platform work on the day-to-day operations, let the platform create and manage policies and configurations, and you focus on maybe deploying or maybe checking out new platforms, new technologies, and seeing how you can make the organization better, the business itself better.
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation. I think with any conversation about AI, I think people always get scared of like it's coming for my jobs. But I think it's definitely like a media kind of thing that's been completely pushed. But you're right. I think you almost have to like learn to kind of work with it, because if you don't, you're kind of system and the process that's been put in place is going to, I guess, fail. To kind of be able to work, and it makes you work better, makes the organization work more smoothly. I guess touching upon this, I've actually written down a couple, I guess, results that I've seen from your website and that's been posted kind of online. It's kind of what we've discussed before, but it said that you've had some really impressive results. So it's what, 5 to 6 times faster policy setup, 90% reduction in engineer time. So kind of what we've been speaking about, but huge results. I think it's always good to kind of put a number to it. I guess with the customer adoptions, are you seeing any barriers that are coming up? Or is it kind of everything's running quite smoothly at the moment?
We do, as we of course grow and encounter bigger and bigger customers, more complex environments. And like I said, most of the customers are like different from each other. They all have their own necessities and needs. And we do encounter sometimes like some specific scenarios that we didn't maybe think about beforehand or during the work that we do or did with the other customers. So there are some adjustments, but because the platform is always, let's say, breathing and living, and it's always being upgraded and developed, that then also means that we can readjust it to make all the necessary changes in order to support those new requests. And a lot of the times our customers are also asking us for new integrations. Can you also work with that platform that we already have? Do you support this one and that one? And this is something that we also, thinking about a lot, like how to work on a roadmap to support all of these requests that we get from either our existing customers or the potential customers that we are in contact with.
That's awesome. So you're so kind of close to, I guess, the customer and what they're needing, and being able to build like a platform around that as well. And obviously, completely agree. You've got so many different, I guess, opportunities out there. Obviously, a financial service company is going to be very different to like a clinic or a hospital and what they need, and they'll probably be using different security products that need different plugins. So it's amazing that you guys are kind of, I guess that's what's good about obviously being kind of early on. You've got the opportunity to take those insights and grow with it, rather than having to, I guess when you're with a much larger organization, there's a lot of like regulations you've kind of got to go through, which is awesome. Like, I bet the customers love that as well.
Yeah, you're totally right. Large enterprises or corporates that the ones that they exist for over 10 years, it's very difficult to make them to make new changes and to develop features that are requested by the customers. And a lot of the times, and I used to hear it myself when I was the end user, the customer for from those big companies. And what I used to hear was, maybe in around 3 years in the future, maybe we'll do or think about what you want. And because we're early stage, like you said, it's something that it's much easier for us to do, because we want to build a platform that is suitable and it works like perfectly well with all the customers in our ICP. So we want to make those adjustments. I want to make a platform that is good for my customers. So it's important for me to make sure that we are listening to them, that we know what are the requirements, the actual requirements, and not just what just I wanted to build. It's the difference between what the customer needs and not just what the founder wanted to do. And it's important to make that distinction.
Yeah, I love that. Do you think there's been any kind of, I guess, pivots that you've made, I guess, like in kind of mentally or within the organization since kind of that first, thinking back to that first initial conversation with that customer?
Yeah, I can say that there's a lot of adjustments. It's not like a 90%, let's say, degrees pivot or something like that, but we do adjust it. Yeah, it's not a complete change like we started with, I don't know, with the construction, and now we're security. But we did start with, like I said, focused on network security specifically, and we're expanding and expanded towards other places as well, because we understood that in order to provide a customer a true single pane of glass, we need to look at a lot of different places, not just on the network, but also maybe on the endpoints, on the cloud, on the servers, applications, and a lot of different places. Because only when you see the entire picture, you can truly understand what's happened. and might also, of course, help the organization make, let's say, a better understanding of their security posture on one side, but also better investigation on previous issues, or I don't know, responding to incidents that they might have in the past, because they can pinpoint exactly on which points, which configurations were missing, or which platforms weren't working properly to stop those attacks.
Love that. So it's not, like you said, being kind of like a 180 change completely, I guess, changed from that initial thought, but definitely some pivots. And that's what it's meant to be in startup space, isn't it? Constantly evolving and changing and adopting new processes. I guess that's thinking kind of back. What does, I guess, the next kind of 6 to 12 months look? I'm not saying about specific product launches or anything. I'm sure we'll watch the space for that. But is it kind of growth globally? Is it entering kind of a new market? What does it look like?
Yeah. So you got that right as well. Our 1 year, let's say, plan in the future is expanding globally, and specifically also to the US market, which is something that we really want to work on. So
Awesome.
it's
Well,
one of our next priorities. While also, of course, improving the platform all the time. So that's something that's never going to change.
it comes together really. As I say, well, loads of our listeners are US based. That's primarily where we work. So I'm sure if anyone wants to reach out and learn more and just have initial discussions, they would. If, I guess, someone did want to have a conversation, where would the best place to go? Would it be a website or reach out to you directly?
We either this and that. We're pretty welcoming to communicate on Teams, Zoom, or any other remote, and maybe even on like face-to-face meeting would also be great. But we can contact via email, through our website, or any other means that you can. We welcome everything.
Fantastic. Well, we'll drop all kind of the links and everything in our Spotify and YouTube and LinkedIn chat so that they can reach out directly and have those open conversations. I'm really excited about kind of what the next year looks like for you guys, and definitely we'll stay kind of close to the product and the growth and everything. And we can revisit maybe in about 6 months and see what's changed. Hopefully not too many pivots, and go from there. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.